Yo, what's up guys, it's Loza, and today we're looking at Orcust Dark Magician and how you can efficiently play this deck and have a good time. The cool thing about Orcust is they are all dark monsters and they often benefit from being put in the graveyard, so luckily Dark Magician has a card that helps us with this. The Apprentice Illusion Magician is a Dark Magician card that requires a discard to special summon itself, and then from there it adds a copy of Dark Magician to your hand from your deck. And of course, discarding cards in this build is going to be pretty beneficial, as well as it being a dark itself. Before we jump into the deck profile, let's jump into some of the things you can do with this deck. And you're going to want to open up Apprentice Illusion Magician in this deck because it discards and that sets up your Orcust plays. So really you're going to want to play 3 of this Apprentice. It's been a while since we played her at 3, but I think it's very much the thing to do in a build like this. Anyway, Apprentice will use her effect, discarding Nightmare, adding a vanilla DM, and this actually matters here. Now, you could probably see the play of Rod could add secrets, you could make a fusion. Sure, you could do that. But what we're going to do here is Orcust play. So we're going to banish the Nightmare, targeting the Illusion. We're going to put the Harp in the grave here. Now, we are going to get locked into Dark Monsters here. Oh no! Like that actually matters. So Harp is going to banish and summon out Skeleton here, and Skeleton's going to help us pop off a little bit later. But before we do, we're going to normal that Rod. Rod's going to use its effect. Tournament Regos will be in 20 minutes. Alright, cool. Rod is going to grab either Circle if you have Soul Servant. If you have Soul Servant in hand, grab Circle. And if you have neither, you can just go ahead and grab this package here, which is what I'm going to do. Because I do think the Eternal Soul here is quite nice, and I'll show you why later. We're going to go for the Salvation, and it's going to set the Eternal Soul. We'll put it right next to it. Love to see it. And now we're going to start our link plays. Since we lost our beautiful Anaconda, we're going to go into a new link to the Galatea using Rod and the Skeleton. And now we can use Galatea. We're going to shuffle back the Harp into the deck, the 1-of Harp, to set an Orcust spell trap. Our 2 options are Babble, which is just amazing, makes all your Orcust effects quick effects in the grave, or Crescendo, a hard negate, a negation of activation, whether it's a spell trap or a monster effect, while you control an Orcust link. So you'd have to keep the Galatea here. You couldn't make the Ding play, which kind of sucks. We're going to make the Ding play, so we're not going to go for this. But if you do open this up, you can search the Babble and kind of have both. It's real nice. There's also a search. So you can banish this card from grave, add to your hand a Dark Machine that's banished or in your deck. You get locked into Dark Machines that turn, however, as your only special summon. But what an amazing card. I wish DM would get a counter trap like that, like sensational. For this combo though, we just need Babble. Babble's normally what you're going to grab anyway. It's the better card. Most of the time, I want to say. We're going to flip Babble up, and once again, you know what it does. Everything in the grave is now a quick effect if it's an Orcust. So pretty cool. Galatea is going to Exi for Ding, because that's a thing that you can do in this deck. And Ding has this crazy effect where he can protect our field. If a card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, detach a material from this card instead. So it can protect Eternal Soul, Circle. It's like Dragon Knight, kind of. Not quite. Anyway, we're going to use... It can also on summon send something, or it can attach something. So we're going to attach something. We've attached our Nightmare that was banished, so that's pretty cool. But now we're just going to put them all back in the grave. Oh, not dark. We're going to make IP. So we had 3 cards, and we're turning it back to 2. Kind of strange, but that's how it is. We still have Skeleton live in the grave, but we're going to pass it to the opponent's turn, and that's where all of our plays are really going to happen. So let's go ahead and see what the opponent's going to do. Of course, this AI is not going to do normal plays, but we'll just play it by ear, and I'll tell you what we would do in a normal duel. So they are going to normal their first monster, the Kozaki in this case. Now, we've got a couple of options here. You can see we've got Eternal Soul, we've got Skeleton, and we've also got Nightmare. So what I would probably lean towards is just doing Skeleton first, summoning the Ding, because they know about the Ding. Summon the Ding, get it over and done with. Ding comes out. You click the send. You can attach, of course, but just click the send. Get rid of this shit. Now, the opponent's probably going to keep comboing. The AI is not, because it has nothing else. But the opponent will start making their board again, right? Play out their extenders, start trying to do stuff. And at that point, you could IP mask. You've already seen it, right? We've got Ding, we've got IP, we've got 2 monsters on the field. We can easily go into Unicorn, shuffle 1. We can easily go into Little Knight, target a card on the field, banish it. And then we have the, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, target 2 face-up monsters on the field, and banish them until the end phase. So if that's the better play, go for that, because banishing cards is great. But if you're versing something like Cash or something that likes banishing, you're probably going to want to make the Unicorn with these 2. And you know what Unicorn needs a discard? Oh no, discard the DM you search for free, and then Eternal Soul can still summon it from the grave and can add Rod back, right? So the discard here doesn't matter because we've already got the vanilla that we added. So it's just whatever's better. Whether it's SP or Unicorn, you make the call and you go for it, right? And you hard commit. However, we're going to be greedy and we're going to go for something a little spicy. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the Nightmare. It doesn't really matter what we target here. Let's just go for the IP. That's fine. Give it a bit of extra attack. We're going to put the harp back into the grave, and now we're going to use the harp effect. We could summon Brass Bombard or another skeleton. I think Nightmare is probably the better option for follow-up next turn. It gives you kind of the option of everything. And now, of course, we've got 3 monsters on the field, one of them being a Link 2. So let's go ahead and use that IP Masquerena. Now, we are giving up the board protection that Dingarusu provides us with to do this, so you really have to kind of suss it out and see what's the best play. So now, if the opponent tries to summon any extenders from here, you have an absolutely amazing board wipe. So what I mean by that is, Topologic says, when a monster special summoned to a zone he controls, destroy all monsters in the main zone. So we're going to do that now. I know the opponent has nothing, but imagine they did. We'd flip that Eternal Soul, summon out the Dark Magician to a zone that it points to. Then we're going to be able to activate Trigger Effects Met of Topologic Bomber to nuke all the monsters in the main zones, but we're also going to use Rod, tributing the DM, so we're not even going to lose our own DM, because we're going to recycle him for Rod, and Bomber is going to nuke the field. Obviously there's nothing on the field, but you know it would. The opponent will probably finally pass, and then on this next turn you have an immense amount of follow-up. So we've got Eternal Soul Summon DM, we've got Rod, we've got our top deck, which was Souls. If we check in the grave, we've got Nightmare Banish, which, that's all we have, but that's actually quite a bit. Like, that's probably going to be game, and we've got Babble Up too. The synergy Dingarusu can provide by protecting our cards by detaching a material is super beneficial if you can't get away to Dark Magician the Dragon Knight on that early turn. Let's jump right into the main deck. We've got 2 Dark Magician. Pretty standard from a Loza deck. We don't really need 3 anymore. We haven't for a while. 2 Illusion of Chaos. Normally this is all you'll need of this guy too, because Illusion of Chaos can actually add you all of the monsters you can see here. So while he's kind of awesome and you might think you want 3, you kind of only want 2, because once you got one, you kind of just keep it in your hand and keep using it every turn. Next, you've got Triple Rod. Rod will get you to your Circle, your Soul Servant, your Secrets, or your Eternal Soul package. It's just whatever you're really missing from your hand, you go and get. Magician Souls lets you extend your board and either summon DM or summon the Souls to send some of your extra spells and traps for draws. But other than that, it's just a fantastic level 1 monster that every DM deck has to play. And here's the star of the show for this build, the Apprentice Illusion Magician, as we spoke about earlier. Discarding one of your Orcust cards really allows a lot of plays to open up. You can also discard your Dark Magician to put your Soul Servant online, for example, which isn't too bad either. So definitely going to be the star of the show here is the Apprentice. 1 Secrets of Dark Magic is all you'll really need. You can fusion and synchro with this card, however, it's just not really needed at a higher number, and Timaeus is kind of bricky, so we've cut him from this list. Sadly, there's no Dark Magician and Machine fusion, so you can't really do anything cool with that, though Phantasme is a dragon if you do happen to draw him. Of course, Phantasme Secrets and DM can go into your Dragoon or your Dragon Knight, which is always nice, and also ironically make Starving Venom. Sometimes you use it to push for game, but yeah, it's just an interesting little thing. Soul Servant. This card is good, but because we're not playing DMG, we're just going to play it at 2. Especially because your Apprentice here sometimes would discard Soul Servant, but in this case you want to be discarding your Orcusts a lot of the time. So Soul Servant is still here at 2 because obviously it's really good with Magician Souls and can get you your missing piece if you're missing Circle, you're missing the Eternal Soul stuff. So it's still good at 2, but definitely not a 3 of. Due to deck space, I think it's fine at 2. 1 Circle, because it's all you'll ever really need. Once you've got the 1 Circle out, you're pretty happy to keep playing the game without it. You've also got Salvation here, 1 Eternal Soul 1. So there's technically 2 copies of Eternal Soul if you want to look at it that way. Then we get to Terraforming, which can add you that Salvation, which is kind of another copy of your Eternal Soul. And then we've also got Orchestrated Babble. Orchestrated Babble we'll talk about a bit later, but it is a sensational card. It does mean if you open Terraforming, your standard Galatea play can go and set the Crescendo instead of grabbing the Babble, so that's really cool. Alright, moving on, we've got the Double Allure here. Let me know if you like the deck profile set out like this, by the way, guys. It's mainly so I can talk about each engine as it is, and that is the end of our Dark Magician engine. Moving on into our Orcust engine. Now, the Allure of Darknesses here work with the Orcust engine, but they can also work with the extra pieces of the Dark Magician engine that you may find yourself having in hand. So I thought I'd just put them on the side here, but feel free to go up on this number if you want to drop one Magician's Rod or something like that as well. The 1 Harp Horror, because it is at 1 and it's the best Orcust card by far. If we could play 3, we'd probably be playing 3. This card banishes itself and lets you summon a Orcust from your deck. It's sensational. Now, with the Bestials running around, this card is not quite as good as it was back in TOS format, but that's okay. We still love our Harp Horror. He is a beautiful boy. 2 Symbol Skeleton, because Symbol Skeleton lets you summon an Orcust from the grave, and it's normally going to be your way to summon the Dingarusu on your opponent's turn when Babel is up. Apart from that, it can help you extend on your turn too, which is always nice. Orcust Nightmare we're going to be playing at 3 because you want to see it along with your Apprentice in your opening hand to discard it for the Apprentice summon. You can then banish your Orcust Nightmare, and it's able to send a Dark Machine from deck to grave. It's normally going to be your Harp. You're going to banish your Harp and summon your Skeleton, and then you kind of just do your whole combo. It's kind of nice. World 1 is here to recur your resources. You can banish it and special a banished Orcust. So that's kind of nice, and it does come up from time to time, and if it's just bricky, you can kind of just Allure of Darkness it away, hopefully. Then we've got the 1 Babel and the 1 Crescendo. Babel is going to make all of your Orcust monsters quick effects, which is really damn good, and it also adds itself back from the grave by sending a card from hand to grave, so that's cool too. Crescendo is an incredible card that I wish Dark Magician had a similar version of. It's a counter trap that negates a spell trap or monster effect while you have an Orcust Link. You negate the activation and banish the card, and then you can also banish this card from your grave and add a Dark Machine that's banished or from your deck to your hand. You also get locked into Dark Machines for that turn, but I think that's still really, really good. I do hope one day DM gets like a spellcaster counter trap that's kind of similar to this, but who knows. Anyway, that's the Orcust engine. It's really nifty. We always want to get these cards to the grave ASAP and start popping off with their effects. Next, we have the hand trap / going second package. This is here so we can survive turn 1 in case we lose the die roll. It's also here because we really need that oomph in Dark Magician to play, and all of these hand traps are kind of blowout cards in their own way. While Phantasme is the weaker of the 3, Phantasme is a Dark Dragon level 7, which naturally synergizes with Dark Magician as it can help you make your Dragon fusions, but it also helps the bricky nature of Dark Magician by mulliganing your hand after your opponent Link summons. And because SP Little Knight is everywhere, I think Phantasme is fine to be in the main deck or the side deck for this next format. So besides being a fantastic card that just seems to synergize really well with DM as a core, this card also can help you draw into your Super Poly and your Nibiru here, which are your going second win conditions more or less. We don't really have a lot to do on the opponent's turn outside of Circle Eternal Soul, maybe get a banish, and Dingarusu maybe get a send, and perhaps negate something with Crescendo. But we're probably not going to have all of those things at once, so that's what the Super Poly, Nibiru, and Phantasme are here to help facilitate. Now, if we're playing first, Phantasme could still come out on the opponent's turn and find us a Nibiru, which is really nice. And if you're playing second, Phantasme can find you either Super Poly or Nibiru, and then when it's your turn, hopefully you've already used the Nibiru, but hopefully you can use that Super Poly to your advantage with the Garura and the Starving Venom in the extra deck. Now, unfortunately, Mud Dragon, we didn't quite have room for him as a third target. If you have any other Super Poly targets, feel free to add them into your list. We're just kind of strapped for extra deck space, which we'll get to right now. So in the extra deck, we've got Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, Master of Chaos, and Dragoon. The 3 better Dark Magician fusions, I want to say, the ones that have an actual impact on the game. You normally make Dragoon when you've got nothing better to make because it's a negate and it's really powerful. You make Master of Chaos when you're going second and you've got the OTK. And you make Dragon Knight when you've somehow made your way to Circle and Eternal Soul and you just want to keep that continuous lock going. So they all have their own use. Dragoon's still probably the best one, but the other 2 definitely can come up. Dark Magician sadly hasn't made the cut in this list. While it's the most generic fusion, needing just a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl and any spellcaster, it just doesn't do enough. You need another card for it to get a draw, and even then, you normally just draw into nothing. It's really depressing, to be honest. If we had a way to contact fuse into this or one card fuse into this, I think it would make this card a lot better. But until then, this card is kind of, sitting on the bench for me at least. In pure DM build, sure, it can be in there. But when you're mixing DM with something else, you do run out of that extra deck space, and this is probably one of the first fusions to cut. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of ways this card could be better, which I'll talk about nearly in every video, but you guys already know this should be DM and DMG on the field engraved, but it's not either at any time, so that's really sad. Anyway, moving right along. Dingarusu is super good in this build because it's able to send one of your opponent's cards from field to grave, or of course protect your field. So being able to protect your Circle Eternal Soul in case you don't have your Dragon Knight yet, so that's really nifty. Of course, Dingarusu needs 2 level 8s, but in this deck you can just summon it with Galatea, because Galatea is cool like that. Galatea is also a very good card because she can't be destroyed by battle if she's linked. Remember, linked is not co-linked, she just needs to be pointing to something, which is kind of cool. She can also target a banished machine, so any of your Orcusts, shuffle them into the deck and set an Orcust spell trap from deck. So normally you're going to set your Babel, however if you open Terraforming for Babel, great, you can set your Crescendo and you've got your counter trap negate. Or obviously if you open one of these two as well, you can just search the other, it's very nifty. So Galatea is just universally an amazing link too. Wish we had something like this. Maybe one day, maybe one day. Next we've got Artemis, just for recycling rod potential. Probably not as necessary in this build since you'll hopefully open an Orcust Extender or way to it, but still should be played. I'm Duck for looping your Dark Magician. IP and SP Little Knight, they're basically, you know, you gotta play them basically in Orcust, but also in any deck in general. They're kind of just your go-to turn 1 board cards, because all other Link 2s are kind of gone. Topologic Bomber Dragon, you can summon this off your IP, and it's kind of sensational because then you can use your Eternal Soul to summon DM and kind of just blow up your opponent's field. It's kind of nice. You could also use Ouroboros instead of this, but I forgot to put him down here. So if you don't want to play the Topologic Bomber, you could also play Topologic Ouroboros, but he does banish the entire field, but he does return himself to the field as well. So, you know, it's up to you whether you want to play just nuke the main monster zones or nuke the entire field, you know. Next we have our Selene, Access Code, and Dark package. Dark lets you climb to Selene, Selene lets you climb to Access Code, and everyone knows the rest. You get to pop a bunch of cards, it's pretty good. We sadly, coming back to the IP package, we sadly don't get to play Unicorn. You could probably make room for it by cutting, say, I'm Duck, but we're trying to stick to the stuff DM needs as well. But Unicorn could be really good here. I do think the SP is better because it doesn't need a discard. The IP and SP is actually really good, or IP into Topologic Bomb is also very good. We're just trying to not discard as much, especially since Apprentice is probably going to discard a card from our hand in this build too. But you can play the Unicorn if you really want. Super Poly targets, we've got the 1 Starving Venom and the 1 Garura. These won't get you out of everything, so you may want to slip in a Mud Dragon. I kind of ran out of room once again, but if you wanted to put that in instead of Starving Venom, that could be a play for sure. I just think Starving Venom's really nifty in this deck where we're all dark, because we're actually able to Super Poly or Secrets using our own cards and go on a Starving Venom, which sometimes can push for game. It's also very good if your opponent activates a card like Regeki. You're able to just chain Secrets, go into this, and if they had a board, their board's about to be gone because of that last effect where if this fusion summon card is destroyed, destroy all your opponent's special summon monsters, so it can be nifty there too. But overall, that's the deck profile. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you got a way to make it better, because this is what I've come up with over testing. I accidentally deleted this deck profile like 3 times, so hopefully I haven't missed anything from the previous profiles. I think I cut DMG, but I think that's a cut for the best. But anyway, let me know what you think. This is Orcust DM by your boy Loza, and I'll catch you guys very soon for some more DM content. See ya! Hey guys, quickly I want to discuss one card that I missed in this video, and that is the Barricade Borg Blocker. Now this was a standard Link 2 to play during the TOS Orcust format, and the reason being is it's a Link 2 that's simply made with 2 monsters with different names, and when this card's Link Summon you can discard a card, keyword being can, and then during the end phase of this turn you can add a continuous spell or field spell from grave to hand. Now you don't really care about that part, though there obviously are continuous spells and field spells within a Dark Magician Orcust deck, Circle, Babel, Salvation, Village if you're siding it for example. But the main purpose of this card is to discard a card. I'm serious, if you open Rod and Souls and no way to your Apprentice, and the rest of your hand might be Orcust cards, right? There's no way to start popping off with those Orcust cards. And so this is where the Barricade Borg Blocker comes in, being able to link into it with your Rod and Souls, for example, and then proceed to discard an Orcust Harp Horror and start popping off with your Orcust stuff from there would be really nice. Now this card has a bonus effect, the face-up spells you control can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. So that's actually really nice if you have Babel or something like Village Up with a lone Dark Magician somewhere. It's actually quite cool. So yeah, I thought I'd chuck that in at the end for the people who stick around the longest. So thank you to those who are still here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy Loza. And yeah, let me know what other DM variants you want to see down in the comments section. Ones we haven't done before on the channel or ones you want to see updated. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.